Hello, it's Lauren here with part 2 of our Halloween fear series. And today I want to talk about the top 3 fears that women face. I know we may get some traction from men watching this video as well. You're welcome to enjoy it. But I'm not a specialist in men. I am a specialist in women. And what I know about fear is that it is something that scares us, right? It pulls us back from something when really it's trying to tell us something. It's trying to tell us where our edge is. So, in this 3-part series, I've been breaking down fear. Last week, we talked about the biology of fear and looking at it from an existential framework. I taught how fear is fundamentally assumptive, right? Which means it's not based on facts. And I talked to you about strategies for surmounting those fears when they come up. Today, I want to take it a little bit deeper. Today, I want to talk about the specific 3 fears that I know are like the kryptonite of most women, right? Myself included. And I also want to offer a really powerful belief shift that could help you navigate when these fears come up, right? And really, last time we talked about having a little fireside chat with your fear, right? So that's part of it. But I want to take it to the next level so that you can use your fears as a way to shift those self-limiting beliefs. So the number 1 fear that women face is the fear of rejection. Now, anyone who's watching this, whether you're live or watching on the replay, I want you to show me, give me an emoji, a thumbs up, just give me something if you've ever encountered the fear of rejection. And this can look like a lot of different ways. This can look like fear of judgment, right? Fear of what someone's going to say. It can look like we're comparing ourselves to someone else. It can look like the fear that we're not enough, right? That who we are, how we are, who we're with, something about us is not enough, that we're somehow wrong, we're somehow flawed, that no matter what we say or do or how we show up, everyone's going to find out that we're a fraud, right? This can have to do with that imposter syndrome, right? This can flank us, right, as we're trying to make these choices about what relationship to be in, what job to be in, what path to follow. There's like that sense, like I can't trust myself because there's almost this part that's like, well, if I choose the wrong thing, is everyone gonna leave me, right? Is everyone gonna just abandon me and I'm gonna be alone? And that's heavy, right? That is really heavy. And I think it's absolutely critical that we look at them this way, right? We look at them with this lens of like letting them be heavy, letting them do their job, right? These fears exist for a reason. They're trying to teach us something. So letting them like hit you and go, yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. That is it. And so when we're talking about the fear of rejection, so often the core of the fear of rejection is that we're not safe as we are, right? There's something about us that is so fundamentally bad or wrong that we aren't safe to be us. And if we show up as us, there's going to be consequences. Now, the way that this can manifest in our life, right, is by overthinking, right? And even to look at this, fear of judgment, right? It has to do with others. Fear of rejection, it has to do with others, like this comparison piece, right? We can constantly analyze in our heads, right? Our brain is just so powerful and can give us so much ammunition to process and to think about all these different ways that we are not enough, or that so-and-so's outwards are quote unquote better, right, than my innards, right? This also manifests as people pleasing, right? And I am a recovering people pleaser, right? And I'd like to say that I'm totally healed and out of that, but that's not true at all, right? This stuff still flares up, right? It comes up no matter how much time I've spent processing and working through it, like it still comes up in new and exciting ways, right? And so fear is that invitation to look back, even if this is a place that you thought that you had already, put a lot of attention. This can be an invitation to look back there and say, well, what is it? So as I grew up as a people pleaser, the way that I learned to exist, the way that I learned to stay safe, was if I could say the right thing or do the right thing. It wasn't so much a worry about saying the wrong thing. It was like there was some magical combination of something that I could do, that I could say, that would help make the situation better. It would help take care of someone that I loved and would help them feel better. And in them feeling better, I was saved. And them feeling better because of me, I knew that I always had a seat at the table. And that worked, in some ways until it didn't, right? Until I realized that it actually didn't keep me safe because it kept me hidden from the very people that I was trying to connect with, right? It kept me isolated, right? And it's like when we were talking about the existential fears, right? A rejection at the core is like a fear of isolation. And so here I am trying to prevent isolation when really that is the very thing that I'm bringing about. So the second fear that I want to talk about today is a fear of loss, right? And this is so true and so pure also, right? It's like this fear, like what if I fail, right? And we can look at failure from the fear of rejection too, right? Like what if I let down people that I care about? But there's also a very real part of this, like what if I fail myself? What if I show up and say who I am and say what I want and go for it and then I don't get it? That's scary. Like talk about the edge of your evolution, right? Like that's right there, that fear right on the edge. We see this fear of loss a lot of times in like hoarding behavior, right? This sense that like I have to hold on to what I have because I can't trust what's going to happen in the future. It's like, even if this is, I know it's not the best, it's okay, right? This is an okay relationship. This is an okay job. This is an okay life. I don't want to lose this life and risk it to go for something else. But that becomes a problem, right? Because then we're never actually letting ourselves be free to receive the things that we want to receive. I hear this a lot with people around like pets, right? Once you have a pet and you love that pet and then the pet dies, right? There's a sense of like, never again, I will never have another pet, right? Because the pain is so real and you don't want to risk feeling it again, right? And that tells us at its core, this fear of loss is saying that we won't be okay, right? Like our heart is not be okay. So therefore we shouldn't commit. Right? Like this fear of commitment is like a fear of, that it won't work out, right? And that is sad, right? And again, when we meet this fear and we go, yeah, that's sad. And like I talked about last week, right? And we have choice, right? What is that choice when that fear of loss comes up, right? We can choose to never have another pet or another relationship, or we can choose to say, it's worth it for me. It's worth it for me to have this kind of love, to have this kind of connection, to trust fall almost into the future, right? So the last fear that I want to talk about is I want to talk about the fear of power, right? And this is also about like growth, right? Or change. And really, this isn't a fear that we talk about that much, but it is so tangible, right? So if you think about absolutely stepping into your greatness, right? And even if your brain is telling you all these ways that it's not great and you're not great or things that you could do different or be different, you are fundamentally lovely, wonderful, capable of greatness, right? Deep down, your soul knows that you are, and meeting it, joining it, allowing it to express itself in all of the greatness is actually the key, right? And so this is where I want to talk about, this core of the fear of power is again the safety, right? That we won't be safe, right? And it can tie into this rejection that others are going to leave us, and it can tie into this fear of loss, that we're not going to be okay, that our heart's not going to be okay. And, right, like it is illuminating for us the ways that our fears lie, right? Our fears are trying their best, bless their hearts, right? They're trying their best to take care of us. But they are telling us, stay small. Don't rock the boat, right? Stay in your lane, stay narrow, like whatever metaphor you want to use, right? Like we can even talk about vibrations, right? Like vibrations that lift you up and elevate and expand, right? Versus, this like low vibration. If I just stay in my shell, I'll be safe. But even as I'm saying this, like in thinking through all the women, that I work with, right? Everyone knows that that's not really true. When you stay small, not only are you depriving everyone out there of your beauty, but you're depriving yourself of it. You're not allowing yourself to connect with your radiance, right? And be the beacon of light that you are. So my whole brand is about soul indulgence. And this is because, what we know now and what I know and what my clients know is that the thing that really keeps you safe is the thing that connects you to your purpose, to your pleasure, to your potential, right? The thing that really keeps you safe is actually going toward what your soul calls you to say, hello, fears, thanks for showing me my edges, right? But I'm choosing the path that lights me up. I am choosing to go for the thing that's here. Right? We talked last week about these existential fears and this fear of death, right? Being this like really primal fear that we have, right? And all the other fears kind of feed into it, right? And this plays in here because at the core of it, we are alone, right? We are born alone and we die alone, right? And it's about this life and what you choose to do with this life. And when you have that calling on your soul, you have that calling to something more, even if you don't know what it is, you just know that you're being called for more. If you don't answer it, you have to hold that your whole life. And that creates dissonance, that creates disconnect in your soul, it creates friction, it separates you from your heart. And there's no way to stay safe when you're separated from your heart. So I'm inviting you today toward total soul indulgence, right? Listen, pay attention to those fears, and choose the way that allows you to express your soul in its fullest. Now join me next week because we're going to talk about how to use your body wisdom to make that differentiation between the paths that are the highest expression of your soul and what you're called to, and those paths that those fear voices that you've heard and absorbed are telling you to take. So join me next week, same time, sending you love.